The claim I am refuting argues that the use of animals in scientific experimentation is unnecessary. My opponent supports this statement with three secondary claims. The first one is the LD50 test is useless. Just to remind you guys, the LD50 test measures how much of a substance is needed to kill half of the test animals. The second supporting claim is tests and models run on an animal such as a rat, cat, or dog may not be the same as to a human. And lastly, the speaker claims there is no way of knowing how the animal feels. Starting with the first claim, that the LD50 test is useless, the speaker states the amount of the substance being tested is unrealistic and that no one willingly swallows an entire container of hair dye or eats a pound of powdered makeup. Well, there are a number of ways that people might consume large amounts of the substance, such as if someone dares them or an infant unknowingly swallows the substance. So obviously a bottle of hair dye will be poisonous if you eat it, but companies need to know when after you eat half a bottle of their product, whether you will live for 2 minutes or 2 hours. The LD50 test provides doctors with the information to tell you how much time you have to get to the hospital after consuming a dangerous product. The second supporting claim that the speaker brought up was that the tests and models run on an animal such as a rat, cat, or dog may not be the same as to a human. It is true that tests performed on rats or guinea pigs will provide different results from the same test performed on a human. But the reason that we test on animals is because it's the most accurate of all the methods that we know of today. Derek Lowe, who has a PhD in organic chemistry, states, "For all we know about biochemistry, about physiology, and about biology in general, living systems are still far too complex for us to model. We are more ignorant than we seem to be. The only way we can find out what will happen if we give a new compound to a living creature is to give it to some of them and watch carefully." The final secondary claim from my opponent says that there's no way of knowing how the animal feels. This statement is directed more at a supporting claim that says the use of animals in scientific experimentation is unjust to the animals, and is not supportive of the speaker's original claim, which is the use of animals in scientific experimentation is unnecessary. Whether or not we know how the animal feels, the testing process is still necessary. There are laws that give animals certain rights, such as the Animal Welfare Act, which requires animal testing labs to uphold standards of care and treatment for the animals. Also, as a result of animal testing, we have cured smallpox and polio, and we have vaccines for tetanus and rabies. Aside from helping humans, animal testing has greatly improved health care for animals. We have found a cure for feline leukemia and vaccines for parvovirus found in dogs. In the future, animal testing will be a crucial part of finding cures for leukemia and HIV in humans. I hope I have been able to convince you that animal testing is a necessary part of modern scientific research. Thank you.
Right, the structure is easy to follow, so there's no problem there. The signpost, when you get to the first point, was straightforward. You suggest, for instance, that there is some need to know the level of poisoning or the point at which the poisoning becomes important, or that it might affect the amount of time that they have in order to be able to get some kind of assistance. And I think those are all good claims, except that they're all asserted, and you don't have any documentation that suggests that those kinds of things are true. Hypothetical examples are okay. So, for instance, it's probably true that somebody's not going to drink large quantities of a hair dye, for instance, but it is quite possible that a kid could drink or eat large quantities of a medicine, for instance, like children's aspirin or something like that, and there could be an issue that's going on there. But all you've got is the hypothetical in this situation. If you had some examples about how this research in the past had been useful to finding those sorts of limits and how we've been able to craft legislation or take actions, I think that would be a stronger argument. As it is, it's the kind of argument that I think is effective to make, but you could have made that immediately after the speech without the 2-week intervening time period. The second argument about the difficulty of the tests to be applied on something other than the living systems, I think you've got a good general quote here that covers the need, the need for this kind of research, and it's a good general counterclaim. It'll apply to a lot of the arguments that are being presented here. The third point, it seems to me like I'm not sure that that's exactly what the claim was that the advocate was making. You make it sound like it's about animal feelings in the concept of whether it's just or unfair or something along those lines. I think maybe the advocate's argument might have had to do with something about knowing what the impact of it is on the animal in terms of their ability to think, reason, feel, their mood, any of those kinds of things. So you may be missing the point of the argument. On the other hand, it may be exactly correct. I think that the argument is problematic to begin with. One of the things that you do want to do is talk about whether or not that's an important element of evaluating the necessity of using animals. And I think this is a good place to maybe make a reference back to your previous point that shows that we really need the living systems and we can't yet replace those with anything else. All right, thank you.